Hello yet again, and welcome back to Compositing with Beyond Typicals. This is Sam Lytle, and in this episode, we're going to talk about compositing against utility-related projects. And adding utilities is one of the features possible with Beyond Typicals. And before I jump into some of these examples, I want to just briefly show you how that's done. Obviously, on our website, if you go to the tutorials page, there are more in-depth tutorials about how to add and adjust utilities, but I just briefly want to walk through the basics. So what we have here is the default project, and to add a utility, you just select any section that you want. You go to underground here in the section menu, and then we have 3 slots here. You can see them 1, 2, 3. They're all the same, but that means we can put up to 3. We can attach up to 3 underground pipes to each section. So if you check it, if you look really close, you can see here we now have this 2-inch pipe. We're going to change that to an 18-inch. You can do metric sizes. And then from there, you can even do scaling, and you can link the scaling as well. So if we wanted to do 18 inches times 2, we can do that. Now we have a 36-inch pipe. So lots of options for adjusting and scaling underground utilities. You can do the interposition. So that's going to keep it within the section. You can move that left, right, up, and down. If you need to move it further, you can do the external position as well. And then you can do the longitudinal offset. If you want to make it extrude out further, you can do that as well using this slider. And then rotation in the Z. If you want to rotate it, let's scale the length out. If you want to scale it so that it's at some sort of skew, you can do that. And let me show how that would look if I brought in a. Let me show how that would look if I brought in a trench section. So if I bring in this trench section, you can see here now we have that skewed underground utility, and that's through this Z rotation. And then you can also change the watercolor. It's default this tealish color, but you could do a darker blue if you wanted. So let's turn on a pipe in this trench. Let's make it bigger. And you can change the watercolor using the sliders. By default, it's a teal color, but we can change it. If we want it to be dark blue, we could do something like that. If we wanted it to be green to indicate sewer, we could do that. If we wanted it to be yellow for high pressure gas, and so on and so on. If you either need to add more than 3 pipes to a section, or if you want more flexibility, we also have the option, if you go to the section panel over here on the right, you can do free pipe. And that's essentially a section of its own with 0 width. And so to go through sections, you can go left and right with the arrow buttons. And here I have the free pipe selected. And so now I can show that that is turned on, and then we can adjust that. And we can do all the same things. And so if you want a little bit more control, or if you're trying to do some organization, you can do it through the free pipe. And then it will also show up in this section hierarchy as this free pipe. If you wanted to remove it and you're having difficulty selecting it, you could do that. All right, in this first example, this is just a really simple example. This is a photo taken in Las Vegas, Nevada. And you can see this is the image. And if we push it to the back, this is the existing. And again, as I've mentioned previous, usually you want to design your sections, you want to bring in your photo, you want to camera match the sections, and then from there you can do edits such as construction phasing, or showing different alternatives, or making adjustments to utilities. And you can see there's a lot of similarity between the existing image and our existing 3D model, which is definitely ideal. And in this scenario, we're showing this is how the road is, but we kind of want to slice it and take a cross section and show what it looks like beneath. So you click section view, and now we have this view below. And this is what it looks like in 3D. But once you camera match it, then it starts to look really nice in our model. And you can see here we've added some custom labels and to add custom labels. Again, you can watch full tutorials on our website, but essentially the label needs to be connected to a section. And so these ones are connected to this section. We can go to custom labels and we can grab that and we can move that around. And it's not exactly on the pipe, but it doesn't matter because we're forcing this perspective with the photo composite. And then that's going to give us a lot of control over the way that it looks in the final rendered image. And just as a reminder, this image back here looks dark in Beyond Typicals, but as you can see here in the final render, it always turns out brighter, the original color, once you render out the images or the videos. All right, in this example, it might be difficult to see what's going on because it is a little bit darker, but this is all by design because we want this. You don't want direct sunlight on something that you're trying to show as underground. And this is a very creative example because we're showing what happened if you chop this road down the middle and exposed the pipes and then added some labels. And if you did that, there wouldn't be sun. And so if you zoom out far enough, you can see we have a building up above giving us some shade. And you can also see foreground, background. Usually the foreground image is going to be kind of in the bottom of the image, but in this one, it's in the top. And let me just bring the camera back to where it's supposed to go and show how this is working. You can see here, this is the top. And then we have this kind of unique scenario here where we wanted to show this manhole cover as part of the image, and that foreground element is going to help blend it in. And so we blend it in this way, and then we've got some cool custom labels, and you can turn off the custom label, the leader line, or the background if you just want text like we have in this scenario. And then what's really unique about this is that it's just a really thin section. We don't need anything fat. We're just showing against this image. And then we have a bunch of custom segments. And so this one doesn't have any of the standard underground utilities, like you turn them on and off here. These are all from our asset library, and they've been placed specifically where they want to go. And you can do that by going to assets and searching for pipe. And then you have empty pipe, you have some pipe fittings. And then if we wanted manhole, you just can search man. And you can see that we have either an exposed or a full manhole. And then you click that, attach it to the section, and then you can adjust it and move it around from there. So kind of a unique example, but just to show the variety of the types of projects that you can show underground with compositing with Beyond Typicals. And this is how the final render turned out. All right, and we've shown this example in the construction phasing, compositing with Beyond Typicals, but I wanted to show this again just to show another example of how you can use underground utilities. We have existing here camera matched with the 3D model matched to this photo in New Orleans. We've got some shadow set up here with this building up ahead, overhead. And then if you go through our phasing, you can see here we're closing a side of the road on this one-way street. We're trenching, and these trench sections are really important often when you want to show the underground utilities. And be mindful too when you're compositing to do it in a way where you could set this pipe up right in the middle, but then when you go to the perspective of where the camera is when it's matched to the photo, you might not be able to see that. And so you want to, wherever possible, you want to line up the pipe when you have the camera set so that you can make sure that it can be seen. And we can show here, this is moving at X and Y over here. And again, you can do this in a way where you can see it. In this one, you obviously probably wouldn't have a backhoe digging or an excavator digging when there's a pipe in there, but we're just trying to communicate that this is when the trenchings happen and that there's a utility here. Shoring, this is an entirely different section. Again, if you go to sections and you go to trench shoring, also I want to make a note that I'm using a pre-release version of Beyond Typicals 3, and so if the section layout is a little bit different, that's why. But the trench shoring, you just grab that and drag it in, and all that stuff is built in to the model. And then finally we have this temporary cover. Get back to our camera, and then we have our proposed. Again, these look really dark in Beyond Typicals, but as you can see here in the final render, it turns out pretty nice in the final image or video. All right, this is another really interesting example of how you can composite in creative ways to communicate different things within Beyond Typicals. We're blending here an image with not just the section capabilities within Beyond Typicals, but also the labels to show an existing road. And you could do this for existing, proposed. You could show this for underground elements that aren't visible when you take a picture. And this is similar to the one I was showing previous, where the foreground element is actually on the top of it and the background's in the bottom. And if we turn off that image, you can see this is what our section looks like. And then each of these elements, they were carefully placed to match up with our photo. For example, over here, we have this big concrete block. If it were not there, then it would look really funny in this image. And so that block helps blend in this image to the photo composite. And then also here we have these other elements. We're trying to show, look, this is a fire hydrant, but there would be a pipe connecting it, and this is a pole, but we can't really take that pole out, and so we want to show, okay, there's a foundation here. And so it just kind of looks like we cut out the earth, and then we left the utilities there, and we have this utility here below as well with the blue. And these pedestals for the fire hydrant and the street light look like this. And again, it just takes careful placement of making sure that your camera's matched up. Let's select the correct section. So you can see here, if we go back to, let's select this asset, go back to our camera, and now you can see here it's highlighted green because it's selected, and now we can just move it wherever we need to go. And that's the process that needs to happen, because you're never going to know if it's lined up until the camera is lined up, and then you adjust it over here using these location sliders accordingly. All right, in this final example, again, we show this in the construction phasing, compositing with Beyond Typicals, but in this one, we're using a trench section in conjunction with a utility turned on, and then we're utilizing the animated construction equipment, which were made available in version 3 of Beyond Typicals. And all of this is to just make an even more powerful communication of what's going on in this project. We also have some area highlights, which you can select the section, go to area highlight, and just turn that on and off. And then over here we have area highlights communicating the traffic flow with the pathway arrows. And so, again, just another example of how you can use a different view, a composite with a picture, to communicate some utility work using some construction phasing. And to learn more about how to use the phasing, just make sure and watch that Compositing with Beyond Typicals on construction. But over here you create and reorganize your different phases, and then you can toggle through them on the buttons down here, or you can render them out in final images or videos. And this is how the final render turned out for that one. Hopefully this was useful for you in not only compositing with Beyond Typicals, but also especially for your underground utilities. If you have any questions or maybe a unique project, make sure and reach out to us. you can go to our contact us page at beyondcad.com, and we'd love to schedule a call with you, either if you're an existing customer or you're looking into purchasing a license for Beyond Typicals. We would love to chat, and I will talk to you in the next one.